first and foremost, I definitely want to thank everyone for coming out today. Look, I've been emotional all day because, everything is just coming together effortlessly. So before we start, I do want to open up in prayer. And so if I can have Mrs. Wilonza Lee come up and she'll start us off in prayer, and then we can move on from there.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Before I start with prayer, I gotta talk a little bit about this story. It is really touching to me. I've known her basically her whole life. Her and my daughter were very close friends. I too understand Rita's story because it's mine. I've been clean for 40 years. And it is through the amazing grace of God. I know coming into this process, and even when I look back, I never thought that I would be where I'm at today. But see, I tell people I don't have a problem telling you who I am because that used to be me. Yeah. And that's not who I am today. And I'm telling you, when I came in here, I was a mother of 3 little girls, 22 years old, and the only thing I knew about myself was that I didn't like me. I didn't have a high school diploma. I had no idea where I was going to go. But I need to tell you that the God we serve will lift us up, turn our lives around. You're looking at someone that ended up getting a GED, then when he got an undergrad degree, then got a bachelor's degree, then double master's, and then went into a PhD program. You understand what I'm saying? So this is a story about redemption. So both of them touched me because I remember this baby came to me about her brother and her mother. And I played a role in this whole piece. So I don't take it lightly. I'm proud of Rita. In the 24 years she got 27 years she got clean. Amen. Amen. So let's say a word of prayer. Father God, we come today just to say thank you. God, we thank you for this time together. We come to you with gratitude and reverence. Lord God, because you have shown us that if we just lean on you and do what we need to do, that there's redemption, that things can be turned around. I thank you for this mother and this daughter. And God, I thank you for their courage to be able to tell their story. Lord God, we pray right now that this book will just not be words on a page, but it'll be a beacon of hope for other people that need to know that you can turn something around. Because when you look at their lives, it's a true testament. I thank you for the grace and the bond that came for them as a result of Rita's life, Tanya's forgiveness, and your grace. So God, we ask right now that you would fill this place with your presence. Bless every individual in here. And let what they read be a message that they can send out to the world and to the universe to show how good you are. And that you can lift anything and anybody up. These blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Rest. Cheap body spray layered over the sweat of dancing earlier. Coins heavy in my pocket. Heart pounding with excitement. I was out the door. And then my mother. She stepped out of the room, the stale smell of incense and that cheap Walgreens spray drifting out as her door creaked. Her eyes low, coming down from a howl, getting ready for the next one. And suddenly, she decided to be a parent.
Where you going?
To the ring.
You're not going this week?
Why?
Because I said so.
That was it. No reason, no explanation, just her deciding at the last minute to play mother. She hadn't checked on me all week, hadn't asked if I ate, if I was okay, if I needed anything. But now, suddenly, she wanted to tell me where I couldn't go, like I hadn't earned it. Like I didn't deserve this one small thing to look forward to. In my mind, all she ever said to me was, "You need to take John with you." But now she wanted to speak on what I couldn't do. I asked again. She gave me the same answer, flat and final. Like I didn't even deserve a reason. That's when it happened. My pulse roared in my ears. heat rising in my chest and my neck. The weight of those pennies pressing into my palm like they were daring me to let go. And I did. Before I knew it, I was yelling, "I'm sick of you!" Those 500 pennies went flying across the living room, hitting her, hitting the couch, hitting the table, bouncing off the wall, clinking against that old wood paneling, filling the room with the sound of my breaking point.
Good evening, everyone. I have the privilege of introducing LaTanya Beasley-Carter this evening. Sorry, I'm getting my mic together.
Sorry. I'm the DJ, y'all. Sorry. Okay. I think.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have the privilege of introducing LaTanya Beasley-Carter for the presentation of her debut novel. For those of us in the room that are getting to know LaTanya tonight, you'll come to know that she meets every challenge, not only dressed for the occasion, but equipped with the right tools to overcome it. We see this in the way that she runs her business, and now we see it from her as a published author. LaTanya has bravely shared her story on a conversation that we needed to have a long time ago. We're the generation that this is silently affected, and she's created a space for us to begin the discussion. So with that, the author of The Diary of a Dope Fiend's Daughter, LaTanya Beasley-Carter. All right, you want to welcome your mom up to the stage?
Mom, I'm sorry, you can come back. No, so, as you all know, the story is basically written with, it's my life, but it's also about my mom, Rita Beasley-Lawson, and I would also like to join her to the stage.
All right. As we begin today, I've been trusted with leading the conversation with LaTanya and her mother, but you each were giving index cards and an ink pen, and if you didn't, Frederick can chip in, just raise your hand, he'll come bring one around for you. Those index cards are because we want you to participate in the conversation as well. Anybody can relate to that moment, ooh, I had a question, but I forgot it? The index cards are meant to prevent that. So if something comes to mind that you want to ask, go ahead and jot it down. And we absolutely will be involved in the conversation throughout tonight. And we'll explain the raffle tickets this evening as well, and a few other things that you'll notice around here. So begin the conversation, I think it's important that we acknowledge that you have decades of healing between the two of you.
Yes.
So my first question for you, LaTanya, is why now? Why write this book now?
So, the title of the book was basically given to me in the stillness of COVID. I was silent and I was like, what can I do? And I was in transition from working to becoming an entrepreneur, and in that space, I was basically like, you know what? I want to write a book. And then the title of the book came to me. But I was always scared because I was like, well, who would just want to hear my story? And so I didn't want to do it by myself initially, but then earlier this year, God spoke with me and basically was like, you know what? This does not just need to be a book about your story. It just needs to be something that other people can use to speak out and heal themselves as well. As you all know, I'm an entrepreneur, so I own a t-shirt company, Be Easily Created. And last year, about 5 different ladies came into my office, and some sort of way we would all talk about our upbringing. And to my surprise, there were a lot of women that share my same story, and we don't talk about it. And so it's like those of us who grew up in addiction, it's almost like the things that we may share are things that we only share with our therapists, unless someone is brave enough to just open the door. And when the door is open, the floodgates open. The conversations are endless. And so that's just how it came about. It was time because other people needed it.
Wow, that's powerful. Other people needed it. Wow. Rita, I have a question for you. LaTanya mentioned that you didn't have any input with the process, the writing. In fact, you weren't even privy to the stories. Was there any fear with what might be written in the book, how that might impact your relationship today?
No, actually it wasn't, because any and everybody that know me know that I am not ashamed. I'm unapologetically unafraid about my story. And so LaTanya shared with me why she did not share after the fact. She was like, Mom, I did not want your input, because this is her story about me, and I'm part of the story as well. So no, I was happy, and I had a few people ask me how did I feel about the title, The Diary of a Dope-Fiending Daughter. And I said it didn't bother me at all, because I'm recovering.
Come on,
27 years.
All right, bring it up.
And so I am not my past. And so no, it didn't bother me at all. And I'm gonna say this, someone shared with me recently that in the African American community, we were kind of raised historically to don't tell. Right. What going on in this house, stay in this house. And that's why many of us, I believe, are still suffering with the ills of addiction and mental health challenges, because we don't want to talk about it, but we need to pull the cover off this thing so we can all be free.
Oh, come on. That's so important to the way that this book was written. We're gonna talk about that a little bit, but I appreciate you sharing that there was no shame, you had nothing to hide, and encouraging people to kind of pull back those same covers. But LaTanya, the book is very personal. Did writing this cost you any relationships?
No. The book is that personal to me, to the point where if anyone didn't understand the process of me writing, the silence, it was okay. Those people didn't deserve me. But everyone in my life has been overly supportive of this project.
I love that. Even the people mentioned it.
Yeah, the people mentioned in it, definitely. And I will give this tidbit because I know everyone hasn't read the book yet. But there is a chapter where I actually had to go back, and I wanted to exclude a part about my brother and I in the book, because we never visited like how mean I was to him back in the day. And so I actually had to call John and ask him if he remembered anything about our past and how mean I was, and he only remembered the good things. Wow. And I was going to exclude that out of the book because I didn't want to have that conversation. And so, truth be told, we hold on to so many things that we almost think that, like, I was holding on to all of that guilt for all that time, and this boy didn't even remember y'all. So, I was like just grateful that I was able to like get that off my chest.
Yeah, and the way that this book reads, it's like a deep conversation with one of your best friends. And then you give us space in the book to reply to the conversation. It's a two-way street. What inspired that layout?
God. I prayed on it, and God just spoke to me and was like, this needs to be a journal. And so I wanted the book to read just like those conversations that I would have in my office with all of the ladies who would come in. I wanted to be able to tell my story and speak to, and it's not just for ladies, like, it's for anyone who grew up in addiction, and I have conversations with ladies and men as well, but I just wanted the book to read just like one of those conversations that I would have.
I mean, it's one of the most impactful things I've read, period. Not just recently, I mean, period. And that decision to leave space to contribute to the conversation, I think, is what really elevates it. But this is your debut book. We learned in the book that you've always had a knack for writing, you've always had a creative penchant. How did you determine where this story starts? Because this is rightfully your entire life. How did you determine to start with the poem that you chose to begin the story with?
So I started with the poem because I wrote this poem November 13th, 1995 at 11:31 p.m. And I've written poetry, I mean, that was the way I express myself. Besides, like, my mom would get so many notes from me about how dissatisfied I was with her activities in the house. But just for me, my creative outlet was also always poetry. And so actually just remembering that poem, and that poem also led to me to actually go to therapy. And so it was a powerful poem. My mom gave it to my aunt. My aunt typed it out for me. I still have that typed copy. And that poem led me to therapy, and I felt like it was important to start there because even though I didn't like go on with therapy that long, but that was the door that opened to let me know that, hey, it's okay to go to therapy. You don't have to be crazy.
Do you think it also reinforced that this wasn't normal for you?
I'm sorry.
That this wasn't normal, like the feelings that you had, the bottled up anger, the lifestyle you were living, and therapy helped frame that as something has to change?
Therapy definitely helped frame that something has to change, but therapy also, in that particular therapy session, also opened up my window of things that I didn't even remember. So when the therapist asked me a very important question, she said, what was your first memory of your mom using drugs? And I'm sure my mom didn't remember that memory, but I definitely remember, and I am much older today, but no, I'm 46 today, but I was probably about 5 years old with that memory, and I still remember the memory to this day.
Speaking from a place of memories, I mean, there's some moments in this book that bring you to tears. You've written down some of your most painful memories. And having to go that vivid, that deep, and write it down, did any of that past anger resurface? Any of the past resentment?
So no anger. There was no anger in the book. There was still tears through the entire writing process.
Yeah.
But it didn't strike up any anger at all.
What would you say that represents for somebody that's going through, trying to get to the place that you and your mom are at? These stories still bring tears to your eyes. How do you say that that's healed, but it still hurts?
I think the fact that my mom and I can sit up here together, we can come together and put this entire event together is a big sign of healing.
Yes.
As far as hurt, you can heal from so many things, but sometimes the scar's still there. Sometimes you bump your knee or something like that, and it still may hurt. I had shoulder surgery from time to time. If I'm lifting weights, I'm healed from the surgery, but from time to time, I'm like, oh, I gotta be careful with that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's
Yeah, that was a great note. And there are parts of the story that are kind of obviously left out because they take you down different paths in your life. How did you decide what to share and what to keep private?
Really, this was so spiritual for me. The entire writing process was so spiritual, y'all. I just let God lead me, and I'm gonna be for real. What the things that I can remember of it. My mom has been clean for 27 years. A lot of the memories, a lot of the things happened probably 30 plus years ago. And so I share as much as I could remember and as much as the things that were significant to me are the things that I shared in the story.
Rita, I want to ask you, have you read the book now at this point?
Yes, I read the book.
Okay.
Yes.
Were there parts of the book that were surprising to you about Tanya's childhood?
Yes, there were several. Without giving up the book, what's in the book, because you all have not read the book. But yes, there were parts of the book. I read it a couple of weeks ago, sitting on the balcony, sitting on the patio with LaTanya, and I became very emotional. You know, because as with LaTanya, I had forgotten a lot of that stuff. You know, I've been clean longer than I used drugs. I used drugs for 25 years, and I've been clean for 27 years. And so a lot of that stuff I didn't remember. But one story in particular that I read, Tanya getting baptized. She was 11 years old, and I was not there. And I was like, huh? Tanya, I wasn't there. And she was like, no, Mom, you bought the baptism clothes. And me and my cousin, we walked to the church. We got baptized. I said, they didn't ask where your mama was. And she was like, no. So it was stories like that, you know, without telling what's in the book.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were several other stories that she had written that I had totally forgotten. But because I had forgiven myself, and I've let myself off the hook, and I've given myself grace, and God has given me grace, and LaTanya has given me grace, and we have a beautiful mother and daughter relationship. Some of the things made me cry, but at the end of the day, when I left her home, I still felt good.
Yeah. You mentioned that there were some things you didn't know, but were there any stories in the book shared you're like, oh, that didn't happen. It didn't happen that way. First thing happened this way, or a completely different recollection?
Not that I recall. Oh, yeah, well, just one story.
Okay.
Because I was high as a kite, and I had third-degree burns on my thigh, and Tanya was 5, and she was, I remember this picture like it was this morning, and the hot grease turned over on my thigh, and Tanya was on the countertop, sitting on the countertop at my mom's house, just like this. And when I got up, because I went in shock, LaTanya said, "Ma, your leg was burning like a French fry." But in the book, I think she wrote it was burning like some chicken. Yeah. But really, she said, "Ma, your leg was burning like some French fries," you know. So, but it was still the same.
It was still the same.
She just didn't remember what she said about the French fries.
Yeah.
That what I said. What she said. But basically, it's a real life story. It's not anything that was made up. Everything she wrote is what happened.
You have shared just now that you've forgiven yourself, that LaTanya has given you a lot of grace, that God has given you grace. And in the book, we get to meet Ray. Briefly, first we learn about his incarceration. It's like, hey, who's Ray?
Her dad.
Yeah. But then later we find out a lot more about him. But there is LaTanya, it seems that there's grace that's always been extended to him. It makes me wonder, did his absence allow you to always expect so little from him? And if your mother had been absent, would you have expected less from her?
I was actually asked that same question by my therapist because I did give my father more grace. Like my mom and my father were both, they both were addicts growing up. I think in general, as humans, our mothers are our nurturers. Our mothers are the ones that take care of us, and they're there every single day. And growing up in a single parent household, I got used to my father dropping in when it was convenient for him and things like that. And so I didn't expect much out of him, even when I dedicated the book to my grandmother, Margella, which is my father's mother as well. And so my grandmother would always have me at her house. My father would be there, but he would drop in and then leave, and so I just got used to that.
Yeah.
And he lucked up and got the grace. He didn't get what my mom got. He didn't get the pennies and all of that. He just got a lot. He got a lot of grace from me, and it's just because we expect so much from our moms. Our moms are the people who raise us. They teach us, especially being a girl, like teach us everything, and so that's why.
And speaking of mothers, Rita, your mother is really the glue in your family.
Yes, she was.
She was honestly grace for you in a place where you couldn't ask for it. How has the way that she grandparents it for your children, how has that made an impact in the way that she grandparents your children?
It makes a great impact, because anyone that knows my mother, LaTanya Beasley, may she rest in peace. Anyone that knows my mother know that no matter what a person did, my mother always showed love.
Yeah.
Everybody would come to our home, although I was an addict, and I'm still a recovering addict, and I hear stories with people that are struggling with addiction, where their parents fed them through the back door, or they couldn't come in their house. And my mother never, ever, ever, never, ever turned her back. And I believe there were times that she knew what she was giving me money for.
Yeah.
She would rather give me the money than for me to go out and do whatever I had to do to get one more. And so I extend that same love, care, and protection to all 5 of my grandchildren. Well, 7 with my 2 bonus grandchildren and 8 on the way. So I extend that same grace to my grandchildren.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then LaTanya, who was your model of womanhood growing up?
So even in my mom's addiction, she still used to try to keep herself up. So, my mother curled her hair, curling irons never ever got turned off. Look, I have a burn on my leg right now because I laid on her curling irons before. So my mother was the first person to put a streak in my vein, a blonde streak. My mother was the first person to arch my eyebrows. She would tell me how to clean my face and clean my skin. So she was still that person. And then my grandmother was a jazzy lady. Yeah.
I love that. I love that completely. And then for Rita, I have a question for you. You have 2 children,
Yes.
LaTanya and John.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard the ins and outs of LaTanya's story. Has that sparked any interest in hearing John's version of it for you?
Well, John and I have always been close. Even when I made amends to them when I got sober, because that's part of the recovery program, John was looking at me like, huh? Mom, remember that? So, I've always had an open and honest conversation with John. Although he did share some stories with me that I was like, for real? Like, Mom, remember that house across the street? You thought I was over there playing, we was over there smoking weed. I was like, for real? So I've always been open. And once I got clean, like I said, I have forgiven myself. And so I don't care who it is or was, my children, my family, friends, to hold stuff over my head, because I'm no longer that person. And so John and I have always had an open and honest dialogue. I've always been close with LaTanya and John.
Understood. So in the beginning of getting clean, and it was the final time, because we learned in the book that this was a start and stop process for you for some portion of your young years. Did you believe that your relationship with your children could be healed coming into your final attempt at recovery?
So honestly, and I used to say this when I would go to meetings, NA meetings and AA meetings, and people didn't even know I had a son, because my addiction affected LaTanya more so than anyone, more so than John. And I used to say that, oh Lord, I don't know if my daughter would ever. That's one person that probably would never, ever forgive me. I used to openly say that in meetings. I don't think LaTanya would ever forgive me because she remembered the most. I took her to the spots and, and she saw it all, And so, dang, I lost my train of thought. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Did you ever have any doubt that your relationship?
Oh yeah, LaTanya, I didn't think, I knew, and it's a phrase we say in recovery, it's a long road of reconstruction ahead of us, and that's how I felt with LaTanya. Because when LaTanya wasn't telling me up close and personal in my face that she hated me and calling me names, unsavory names, she would leave Post-it notes. I hate you, you drug it, And so I didn't think, it took a minute for me to stay sober, because I would always say, I stopped and Tanya would be like, yeah, right, you said that last time. And she had to go to the currency exchange when I was getting those paper food stamps, and this is what she would do, give them to me, and I would have to hand them over to her. Yeah. Because she was like the mother. Yeah. Because I said it so many times, but I knew that last time, July of 1998, that I was DONE. And still, I didn't know if LaTanya would ever forgive me.
So what advice would you give to any adult child and parent with a parent in recovery? One, feel like they deserve the forgiveness. And two, how do you get there? How do you start that conversation?
So, I made amends to LaTanya and John, separately. And again, it's all a process. It's a process of them watching, because we said this before, and, me going to meetings on a regular basis. And so what I would say to a parent, it could be someone sitting in this room right now, because we never know people's story, that's struggling with substance abuse or alcoholism, I would say just be open and honest, and let the process start with the honesty. Because as long as I was lying and being dishonest, our relationship would not have ever grown to what it is today. So, to just be honest.
Yeah. LaTanya, same question. What advice would you give to the child?
The main advice that I would give to someone is basically to want. You have to want the relationship to work with your parent first. And so even in my addiction, in her addiction, not mine. I always just wanted my mother. I always wanted my parents to be clean. It was always a desire that I had. And so the fact that I wanted it, that was the first step. AA and NA is really for the recovering addict. We have Alateen and Al-Anon, but my mama didn't make me go there. So I wanted to be healed for myself.
Yeah.
And then I also know that holding on to hurt, anger, it only hurts me in the end. And so, yeah, God, I just felt like I wanted my mother, and I felt like God would be pleased with knowing that I forgave.
Yeah, I love that. So, we're here today because the book is finished. Yes. What pushed you to finally finish it? Well, not finally, but what pushed you to
finally. what pushed me to finish was, look, I used to always tell myself, oh, you're a procrastinator, you start stuff, you don't finish. It was a lot of negative self-talk within myself, right? I didn't want to have that negative self-talk anymore. And so the thing that really led me to finish was the desire in myself to get rid of all of the negative self-talk that I used to tell myself. And then I also just really had to isolate myself. I am that friend. If you are on a 4-hour road trip, I will probably talk to you the entire 4 hours. And so I just had to almost like turn my phone on Do Not Disturb. If you all see, I have sunflowers. I found my space to write my book in my backyard or like in my little patio area. I always had sunflowers. I had soft music going. It got to the point, waterfall, and my tea. I love tea. And so I just wanted to finish because I just really felt in my heart that this project could help someone.
Yeah.
I pray, and I pray that it does help. If it helps one person, I've done my job.
Well, it helped me. So that's just,
Okay.
So what do you want for readers? You want it to help readers, but how do you envision them actually using the book? You structured it to be interactive, but what's your hope on how people use it, how they provide feedback to you about it?
Well, the first hope, if you all look in the book, before you even get to any of the stories, before you get to chapter 1, the intro, I have a lot of disclaimers in the book because I do understand that revisiting the past, especially for some people at this point, it can bring up a lot of emotions. And so I have a lot of disclaimers. I also have a healing agreement. And that healing agreement is just for the adult child and the parent. Just to make a note that whatever I write in this journal or in this book, if you read it, just read it without judgment. Read it with the intent to completely heal. And I really just wanted people to have what I call is a safe space because I wrote in diaries, I wrote poetry. Writing is healing. They said in the Bible, write the vision and make it plain. Writing is powerful. Once you write it down and your book and writing things down is your safe space. And so I just want people to have a safe space to be able to share their stories. I also realize that some of the conversations are hard when you're face to face like this. And I do better with expressing myself by writing things down. Sometimes I do better with expressing myself with even sending a text message. So writing is just a safe space for me because I don't have to look at you. I don't have to see your reaction. You don't have to see mine. It's a way that you can express yourself and people can read it in their own time.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for letting me guide the beginning of this discussion. Earlier today, everyone received index cards. If you have questions that you want to submit, please pass them to the aisle and forward, and I will get those in Tanya's hands. I'm going to leave the stage so you ladies can continue the discussion. But thank you for giving me a place here.
Thank you so much, Doris. I appreciate it.
Oh, and hands raised for questions as well. If you have any, that's okay. That's acceptable. Oh. So, would you like to work so everybody can hear you?
Okay. I do recall you saying you first started writing the book around COVID. It was your vision around that time, correct? I actually came up with the title around COVID, but I started writing January, April. I wrote like the first 4 chapters, and then I finished it really the end of June through July.
Okay.
So I was really just asking how long did it take you to write the book once you actually get started? A few months.
But Anybody else have a question? Oh, pretty.
I want to know how you decided to design the cover of the book.
So this entire project is completely mine from the cover to the inside, right? So when I thought about the cover, I thought about me writing in notebooks as a kid. And then I also thought about the adult side of me journaling. Because back then we didn't have journals, we had diaries or we had our spiral notebooks. And then the picture of me on the cover is from when I was in 4th grade. And that picture also reflects my first bullying experience. And that side is pretty vivid. And then it fades out because that girl is still in there, but she's really faded. So that's where it really came from, the vision.
Let me see the mic. Somebody. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I wasn't thinking. Oh, somebody said I guess it's for you, LaTanya. But if you become a billionaire, so would I. When you become a billionaire, those of us here today get VIP status at all your events.
Yes.
But
I definitely claim that. And everyone here will definitely get VIP status at my events.
and so, of course, okay.
I noticed on the back of the book that you, on your pictures, you wrote names, and you wrote your father's name, but you call your mom. Is there a reason why he became just, he was Ray and not Dad on the book?
Yeah, because when I started talking, everyone would address my dad as Ray. And so when I would address my dad, I was like, oh, that's what this is, Ray. And he never corrected me. I always just felt comfortable calling him Ray. And it's so funny, like I respect him. I respected him as my father, but it felt so funny to say dad to me. So it's like Ray, and he'll tell people as well, like, yeah, when he was alive, he would tell people, hey, this is fine with me, it works for me. So that's why I address him as Ray.
Good evening. This is so awesome. This is amazing. Can y'all give this sister a round of applause? This really touched deep with me. I am an addiction counselor, and I do this every day of my life. And so I just want you to speak to, man, there's so many thoughts, because when I sit in the numerous groups, and sister can bear witness, you know, you have women and men, but I want you to speak to, as a child, as a daughter, because I work with many women who still have issues, just called trauma. They still, we're talking about trauma. And they still, this book is going to be such an amazing vehicle, because I know many women who have been abused from situations, from the parents who are addicts and have been used and grew up in this type of environment. So can you speak to but I know in that book is talking about, is because you're talking about your story. So how would you, or just kind of drop some jewels, not so much, because, you know, I know we are anxious to read this book, on just, because it's about coping, it's about having strategies, you know what I mean, to really deal, and to even, how did you get to the point where you were able to even process, but then even talk about let alone then you got to the point where you started journaling. So can you talk about, no, that's all. So just, I'm done.
I wasn't cutting you off, I was waiting.
But you see where I was going with that, so I just want you to just drop on some of the trauma and what your mindset and what you was going through, just a tad bit. You know, because we look forward to reading the book, you know, I know.
So I think that, of course, everyone is different. When I'm in a low place, I want to be back high. I don't want to stay in a low place. I don't want to stay, and I don't want to stay as a victim for too long with whatever situation I go through. And so I really think it really starts with self. You have to really want to move past that. And so even if you're speaking with other women, the fact that they're speaking to you, it is a cue that they want to get some sort of help. I just really think it's in with the person. For me, I didn't want to be that person anymore that carried hate, that carried anger. And so it just started with the desire. And I think the desire is important. And so I went somewhere recently, and I don't know the exact scripture, but it spoke about the man at the water. Whenever the water was stirred, he wanted to jump in, he had excuses about, oh, well, I couldn't jump in the water because they got in front of me. It was all these different excuses, but at the end of the day, the thing that healed him was the desire to want to be healed. And so I look at myself as, amen. Don't judge me. I don't know the exact scripture, but I think you all have all heard that scripture before.
Hey Tanya, I read the book was awesome. You and I have talked, and we have some similarities, obviously. How have you navigated the world without testing the waters?
Well, I've tested the waters before, but personally, I just like to be in my right mind. I don't need to be high. I don't even need, even if I have a small glass of wine, my tolerance level is so low. It's like as soon as I have one drink, I'm done, you know? And so overall, when you read the book and you understand, I dedicated the book to my Uncle Bobby. My family, they didn't teach me a lot about book smarts, but they told me a lot about life. Right? And so with them teaching me about life and with me being in the house with my parents, I didn't want to be like them. And so my desire to not be like them was so great, it kept me away. And now it's like, I don't care if you call me a lame, Tanya lame, she ain't going, you right, absolutely. I'm not gonna try that edible because I just feel like it's a controlled substance. And I don't know how that substance is going to control me, and I need to be in control of my mind. And that's what pretty much kept me away.
Hello. So I know we spoke about this being a traumatic experience, and Tanya, you said everybody's experience is different, but you also said you did go to therapy, but you made it seem as if you went, but you did not continue. So with this being a traumatic experience, how do you navigate through life without having that outlet? Is it just your faith is so strong that you stand on God's promises? Or are you willing and open to therapy? You know, there's a stigma for Black people in therapy. So just giving this advice and your story now, like you said, everybody is different, but how did you feel about therapy and why do you not go or still attend therapy?
Okay, so when I was younger, my mom was in control of the therapy. And so I remember speaking with maybe 2 different therapists when I was younger. But as I got older, I'm still in therapy. Not necessarily about my mother and I situation, but I look at therapy just as a tool. We brush our teeth, we go to the gym. Like, therapy is just my outlet, and so I still go to therapy now. And I also use all the resources that are free. YouTube University, LaTanya, that's this ChatGPT. I utilize the resources that are available to me now.
Okay, I promise this is my last question.
No.
So, growing up the way some of us did, definitely made us tougher. How do you think that has impacted the way that you are raising your children now?
Now, I tell my daughter, like, my Trinity is my firstborn. Raise your hand, Trinity. So I tell Trinity openly about the way that I was raised and how I was raised in a household with an addicted parent. I tell her about the dangers of drugs, and she doesn't believe me. She was in a trio program at Kennedy King College, and going down Halsted is a good visual of why you don't need to do drugs. And so even if I didn't show her that, I would show her definitely videos on YouTube. Because sometimes people just have to see, they don't believe us. Like, our kids, they want to go their own way, but I want to show you how, where you think this weed, like my Uncle Bobby always told me that weed is a gateway drug. You start there, then you build your tolerance, and then you want more and more and more, and then the next thing you know, you are like on heroin, or now fentanyl, the popping the pills and things like that. And so I tell my kids straight up, and if they don't believe me, I'm gonna show them. Let's take a ride. So my son is here as well. Hayden, raise your hand back there. And so Hayden is a little different. I've also, my bonus son is here as well. Makai, raise your hand. And I have definitely explained it to him because he's a boy, right? And he's a teenage boy, and the pressure is way greater for teenage boys. And so I let him know as well about, you think you can control, everyone thinks that they can control the substance. You cannot control the substance controls you. You don't know if that hit is gonna be that one hit that makes you lose your mind. You don't know if, like, being out with some people, if that drink is gonna, like, if somebody put something in your drink and then now you're done. So I teach them about all of that.
Okay, at this point, is somebody?
We got a question.
Oh, okay, no, answer, no.
Okay, so hi, LaTanya. I just have a quick question. Were there points that in your life with your mom that you felt like, I'm just done, I'm not gonna talk to her anymore? And how did you make that turn to come back and say, I'm gonna go ahead and rebuild or try to rebuild this relationship with mom?
There were a lot of points where I was done. Like, I didn't even want her to come to my high school graduation because she looked bad, darker, soaking wet, 6 o'clock, straight up and down. Like, when she got clean, like, and another thing that would bother me about her was, like, she would have to go away for 30 days in a rehab, and then that will give me hope. And then she'll come back, and things will be okay, and then I'll start noticing all the telltale signs again. And I was just like, this lady I'm done. And when she finally got clean, she wanted me to she tried to like take me with her to somewhere, and I was just like, I don't want to go. And once she actually got clean and I saw her actually trying, and I gave it time, because it's always about, give it about 3-4 weeks after she get out of rehab, and it was like 4 weeks. And then another month, and another month, and I was like, okay, I'll give this lady a chance, maybe. And so, and she would try to include me in like, going to meetings and things like that. Hi, Tanya.
Hey. Oh, okay.
I just wanted to ask, how did you come up with the title of the book? I think it's very bold and brave and very transparent. So how did you come up with the title?
You know what? I thought about my childhood one day, and I thought about how I always used to write in a diary. And I was like, my mother and my father were dope fiends. And I'm pretty creative with words. And so for me, I've always been a pretty good writer. Math and writing. So all of the titles, like all of the chapter titles, I like to do a play on words, and then I wanted some, I was like, man, the diary of a dope fiend's daughter, like, oh, that's it. That's it. That's, you know, it just came to me. I just would write it from time to time, so it just came to me like out of being creative.
So, Tanya, I know that you guys understand that mom has been clean for 27 years. But my question to you is, at what point did you realize that forgiveness was forgiveness?
That's a good question. Man, that's fine.
I really forgave my mom because I wanted to forgive her. I wanted that relationship with my mom. I did not realize seriously that forgiveness was for me until I really started writing this book.
So my mom has a question for your mom.
Okay.
She's been clean for 26 years. She wants to know if you felt like you needed to make up with your kids for all the things that you did.
Initially, YES, yes. However, and I was just talking to my sponsor last night, it becomes a point where you get tired of making up. You can't undo what was done. You can't buy enough. You can't give enough. And so for many years, I tried to make up, you know, and LaTanya at one while, she might not remember this, had stopped talking. And I had to kind of go street on her. And I'm like, look, if you don't want a blankety relationship with me, I don't want one with you neither, because I'm tired of saying I'm sorry. You know, I've been clean and sober all these years, you know, or this amount of time. So it took a minute. You know, it wasn't an easy process until Tanya realized, as well as John, and hopefully he'll be here shortly, my son. It took some time to build that relationship. You know, hello, you can come in. Relationship of trust. So yeah, it took a while. You know, after a while, I said, you know what? Either you gonna believe I stopped using drugs, or you're not gonna believe it. You know, I apologize for missing cheerleader or this, that, and that. I can't undo what I was done. We can move forward from this day forward. And gradually over time, we began to build our relationship to the beautiful relationship it is today.
I want to add to that too. Do they teach you all that in like NA or AA? And so, because as a child of an addict, we don't understand that through AA. We don't, unless our parents drag us to the meetings. But I would personally say, when you cut someone, you do not have you can't tell them when to stop bleeding. Apply a Band-Aid as much as you can. Give them peroxide as much as you can. Don't ever get tired. Because you don't know if that one time that they need this cut bandage is the time that they're gonna be like, you know what, thank you for finally, I know you tried to give me a Band-Aid a couple of times before I didn't want it, I wanted to keep bleeding, but I just really feel like in anything in life, and I'm not judging, the process that you all go through, but from a person that has been affected by that, I would just say, as much as you can, just continue to try to heal those relationships, apologize as much as you can, try different ways, even if you have to, write it down. Even if you have to write in your book a special note, because there is room for all of that. I would just suggest that, just as a person that has been hurt before.
Okay, I think at this time, you got another question?
It's more like a statement. I'm on the back end of the conversation. My throat.
That's okay.
I'm on the back end of this conversation, but my father was an addict too, right? So I know that in some situations, kids would either shun those actions or they might mock it, right? So for me, I think my father was like kind of sacrificed for me and my siblings, because when I saw him, I knew I wasn't gonna never do drugs. You know what I'm saying? The world didn't have to worry about me. But I found out today marijuana is drugs. So I'm guilty of something slight. But really what I wanted to say was, I am, for you and the gentleman's mother, I really felt something about, in my heart about when y'all, spoke in our relationship, because when I was born, my father was a dope fiend and he died a dope fiend.
Sorry to hear that.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have no ill will against him towards the end, because I kind of understood that a lot of strong people just couldn't shake it. But I know it's been several years, but I'm proud of, your accomplishments, and I'm glad y'all got yourself in a great spot too. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe that any relationship can be healed, but it takes willingness on both parts. So, and I always tell LaTanya, like I read a chapter in the book, and I actually told LaTanya, I actually thanked LaTanya a couple of weeks ago after I read the book, about motherhood and addiction, and I went back to school, earned my associate, my bachelor's, and my master's degree. I do know that there's life after drugs and alcohol, because I'm a living witness. Once I surrendered in what we call step one, when I threw up my hands and said, I'm tired. So, son. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Time to say, wait.
If you are actually brave enough to admit it, how many people in the room have had, maybe not my experience was mine, but how many of you in the room have experienced your parents being addicted to drugs?
Drugs or alcohol. Yeah. Wow. The reason why I asked that is basically because I just feel like a lot of us that, like I mentioned this earlier, it's like a lot of us, this is like a secret sister and brotherhood that we have. And if we were to, like the conversations that come from the stories, just being in a safe space to speak about them are really powerful. And I created just for discussion, and a lot of this is like, you can post anonymously. I did create a Facebook group so that we can continue to have discussions in a safe space where people can actually understand your point of view. And so if you are on social media, on Facebook, actually, I did create a space for questions that you may have after you read the book, questions that you may have in your own journey as well, or even comments that you may have after you completed the book and or the journal with your parent or without your parent. So that group is called, what's the group?
Diary of Adult Fiend.
I created it this morning, right? So I was like, oh, we need a space after this. So it's the Diary of Adult Fiend Daughters Discussions. That's how, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And so, before we move, do you want to say something? So, for those of you all who don't know, this is John, my brother John. John is chapter 4, my brother's keeper. And so you'll read about those stories as well, but he just came in and I'll give him an opportunity to say something, and we'll go into a raffle. You'll have an opportunity to make a purchase for your book if you haven't made a purchase, and then look, I won't charge y'all today for my signature, but no, but I'll be happy to personalize or sign because, yeah, I'll close out later, but I'll let y'all speak.
Hello, everyone. I know a lot of faces in here. You know, I'm John, Tanya's little big brother. I'm late because I lost my dad last year, and I got invited to Emerson to meet family I never met before. So happened to be the same time as this, so I wanted to go there first in a rush here. But I do want to say I'm proud of my mom and also my sister. She's my hero. She always showed me, no matter what in life, you can always move forward and keep going, no matter what. This young lady here, super proud of her. Always there for her whenever she needs, and vice versa. I'm not gonna say too much because she's kind of tearing up a little bit. Love you guys.
You want to say something about your chapter?
I don't remember a lot of it when I was young. I'll let them read it.
Okay. I was asking him, it's a chapter in there dedicated to John, and it's called My Brother's Keeper. So I was asking him if he wanted to say something. He said no.
All right. So,
Do you have the raffle tickets?
Peyton, you have the raffles, or is it in the box? Did everybody get a raffle?
Everyone get a raffle ticket?
If not, raise your hand. Oh, Peyton, you got a lot of people that didn't get a raffle. Help them out, Tria.
And I guess while we're waiting, anyone else has a question?
Oh, yes, we have a question back here. Oh, okay. Okay, come on. Okay, come on. No, you can ask Eureka.
Okay, so I can relate in a lot of ways. We mostly have like the same story, but the difference is you got to be able to bond like with your mom early on, and around the time I understood like what was going on with my mom, she got sick. She's still alive, but that's been my motivation, even though she did stuff like previously and you know, I held that in a lot towards her. As I'm older, I have released that. And I just want to say thank you for giving me all that. And I love you. Love you too, Dorita.
Did you have a question? No, just the ticket. Oh, the raffle ticket, okay.
Hi, LaTanya. We are extremely proud of you. You are a blessed soul. I just want to say that I was had chills when I first opened up and saw your cover when you sent us the announcement. I thought it was very powerful. But I wanted to comment on two things. One, when you just said, how many of us, if we would admit it, had an experience? And I didn't know for years that I had an experience. So I thought that was pretty powerful that you posed that, because sometimes I haven't had a village that did a wonderful job with not letting me know I had an experience. And so thank you for posing that. And then two, to bring and shed light on the AA principles and the NA principles and how it affects the children almost insidiously by leaving out some very important areas that should be touched on. So I think in 2025 that the NA and AA community should look out and come to you and get some pointers, because it's time now to open up and step out and branch out and bring in other elements to the steps that are most important, that are also just as important, and it is the children. And until now that you've brought light to it, that this is a missing piece, I would behoove the NA and AA community to reach out to LaTanya Beasley-Carter.
Yeah, I think really with the process is more, ours is Al-Anon and Al-Ateen. I put a lot of resources in the back of the book as well. And look, I'm open for discussion.
Yeah.
I am open for discussion, but I think in this process, I really just understood that it is for the addict. Because whoever the person who's addicted to a substance, I did have that thought at first, and then I was like, you know what? It's really for the addict, and an addict. If you're addicted to alcohol, you're an addict. When I say that mentally, I'm sorry, not to offend. But I feel like some of them don't even have children either, so you want to just still, I just think they just, look, focus on their part, and I would really encourage though the part to help us more, like whether that's like, you know, Al-Ateen, Al-Anon, what is it?
Al-Anon.
Yeah, I got my own help. So that was important for me. Hey. Congratulations. I have not had parents that was addicted. However, you know, my grandchildren parent, mom, has been a recovering addict. And I struggle with giving her grace. And unfortunately, we just live in this society. Once you earn this title, this badge, it's real hard to get rid of that. And I had a conversation with someone earlier that was just kind of like really poking the bear at her. And I felt it was so unfair. Can you give us some insight on what the grandparents experienced with you, as well as what that may have been like to interact with your grandparents during this time? Because I'm putting my grandchildren into therapy, and I'm still trying to cope with ways that I can help them on their journey, because they don't live with their mom. But it's been a challenge. grandmother basically, you'll know that in, like, when you read the book as well, the chapter of her is about, it's called Saved for a Rainy Day. And we think about that as money, right? But that was one rainy day that my grandmother saved me from having to go with my mom. And my grandmother never talked bad about my mom in front of me. Well, I ain't gonna say that.
Tell the truth.
Because she, like, I would be in the house, like, yeah, my grandmother would get on my mom and I was there. So, but my grandmother just really, she focused on our relationship. And she did whatever she could in the absence of my mom. And so, what you're doing is you can, I would only suggest, like, based on what my grandmother did, is just continue to keep doing what you can do in the absence of their mom, because that's all my grandmother did. She provided for us when my mother couldn't. She was there for us. She made sure we ate. She just made sure we were okay. And the times when my mother was absent, my grandmother just always let us know that we'll be okay. And really, that's all you can do. And of course, encourage them that no matter what, this is your mom, and love your mom no matter what her circumstance is. Your mom loves you. She's just sick. She's going through something, and just continue to pray with them that she gets better. I think if you plant that seed of letting them know that your mom is sick, your mom is not well, your mom, and if she goes into rehab, tries to get herself clean, take them. Like my grandmother did that all the time. Even if I didn't want to go, like my grandmother has taken me to visit my mom in jail before, and I didn't want to go, but she still took me. And so I think planting all those little seeds made a big difference in me accepting her after the recovery because of what my grandmother helped me with.
All right, so we're gonna close with one request. You was talking about the poem that kind of inspired the book.
And the rap.
Yeah, we're gonna do the raffle for sure, right after this. We want, a few people asked me, would you mind sharing that poem with us?
I'll share it. Can you, I don't know the poem by heart, but look, I have the original copy in my book bag. You know what my book bag is? I always send them her. I won't,
And can you just start off with telling us again, when did you write the poem? And you said they sent you to therapy after the poem?
Right, so, seriously, y'all, like, I wrote this poem and I felt like I was cold, like, I did my thing with this poem. Like, oh, I really wrote this. And my mama thought it was good too, because my mama is always sharing stuff, oversharing, but my daughter wrote this poem, so I wrote this poem like just out of hurt and frustration one night. I wrote the poem 11/13/1995 at 11:31 p.m. So I was 16 years old when I wrote the poem. And it's in chapter 10. So chapter 10 is my life. And that's where I actually share the poem. I reference the poem throughout the book, but I included it in chapter 10. And then chapter 10 is kind of a lot of the things that were going on with me mentally in the middle of like some of the verses of the poem that I wrote. So, my life. Sometimes I sit and think my life has no meaning. Other times I think I was dead, but unfortunately, I was only dreaming. I sit and think, why is Uncle Bobby, my grandmother, or other family members dead? Why couldn't it be me instead? Sometimes I wish I had wings so I could fly away from all this heartless pain and depression. So now I think it's time to make a confession. I wish I could get away from all this pain, misery, and doubt, because no one sees through these eyes that I see out. I'm tired of being depressed for no reason at all. Sometimes I wish I were on top of the Sears Tower and just fall. I wish I knew why I felt this way, but I know the Lord will help me find out one day. This feeling I get isn't very cool, because it may come while I'm on a bus or even at school. I really want to know why I feel this way. I really want to know why I feel all this heartache and pain. Maybe it's because I have parents on heroin or cocaine. It really hurts me to write these things that's so very bold. But I have to get it out one way or another, because if I don't, I might just explode. I'm broke as hell and I don't have no money because these shady ass jobs won't call on me. I wonder why the Lord picked this terrible life for me. But I bet He did it for a reason. Just wait, one day I'll see. I'm not done. Maybe it's for the better, maybe it's for the worse. Maybe in college from my family, I'll be the first. Some of these things I say are in the line of danger, but I know what I'm saying is coming from depression and anger. All I have to do is stay strong and survive, but with God on my side, I know I'll survive. If things don't get under control, I'm liable to slit my wrist with a knife, but I know what risk I'm taking. It's my life. The end. And so now, all these years later, 30 years later after writing that, I do see that this poem is really full circle for me. I see everything that God has done. I see that everything that God put me through in that. And I realized that I really did not want to take my life. I was too scared. And I love life. I always had a good balance in life. And I speak about that in the book as well. God gave me a very good balance. Like, He had this whole situation at home, and then at school, no one knew, like, how many people went to CBS with me in a room? So it's about 5 of my classmates in this room. Wow. And no one would ever know the things that I went through at home. And so I had one life where I'm like this bubbly dancing machine in high school. And then I had the other life where I would go home and I would have to deal with everything with my parents. And so I was just really, when I was writing, I was really trying to figure out how to live, but without giving them right tools. You think, if you don't know how to live with the circumstances that are brought against you, you think the only way out of that is death. And it's sad, but that's really how I felt. But I didn't want to die. It's hard to explain. And so the reason, like, I kept that poem for all of those years, because I'm grateful to God that I'm able to see, like, I bet He did it for a reason. One day, just wait, I'll see. I see everything. That poem was full circle. And so in the interview, Doris asked me about the poem and why did I start there? I started there because my life it summed up everything that I went through, all of the years that I had been tired of my mom and my dad, and I was, still dealing with grief from losing my uncle. It started with that poem, and I'm able to use that as my reference point for how God is so amazing.
We have come to the end of this session, but before we end, I just want to say to you again, LaTanya and John, Thank you all for forgiving me. Thank you all. Thank you for being an amazing daughter, LaTanya, an amazing son, John. And the three of us sit here before you as a living witness to show the almighty hand of God. That what Satan meant for evil, God has turned it around and used it for his glory. So we want to thank you all for coming. We want to thank you all for coming out and supporting. And are we going to do the rest?
Yeah, we're gonna do.
So we're gonna do
sign books.
Tanya. Oh yeah, and don't forget the book signing. But so Trinity, you want to let somebody pick a number?
Yeah,
And it's like 4 raffles.
and not to keep ending the ending, but I do really want to end with acknowledgement. First of all, I just want to thank all of you all for being here. This process this has been a very therapeutic process for me. The amount of support, you all just being in this room on a Sunday. I know Sunday is your rest day after church, and nobody gonna be coming outside on no Sunday while this girl has on a Sunday, but I thank you all for being here. I want to thank my sister Jackie, Jacqueline Jones. She owns Flowbox Printing. She assists with, if you unfortunately lose your loved one, this is the go-to person for beautiful programs. She's responsible for the photos, the posters on the outside. I also want to thank my friend Sharita.
Thank you,
Look, the reason why Jackie has these photos is because this is Sharita's before and after school center, and she's allowed me to transform this space. And I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone. Y'all, I've been crying all day because really just to see this project go from something in my head to something that I've written down to things that I put on computers.
Manifestation.
Yeah. Things that I put on the computer to an actual book, y'all. I want to thank my husband, Kador, back there. He helped me disassemble the daycare that was here yesterday. He helped me put all of this stuff up. I am so appreciative, y'all, for coming out. Everybody that's helped me in this process, everyone who has purchased a book, everybody for being here. And of course my children for helping, my mother-in-law for, she's right here for coming. Thank you all. My heart is so full. In all transparency, this has been, this year just has been a trying time for me. And so I've learned so much. Finishing this book was so important for so many reasons. Just even giving me the confidence to do something that I've never done, that I didn't think that I could actually do. This book is that important to me, and I just want to thank all my family for coming out and all of you all. And we have a few raffles, and if you haven't purchased a book, if you give it to someone else, or the fact that you're here, I appreciate it. And I pray that all of you all have an enjoyable evening and a safe trip home. Thank you.